Good afternoon. Welcome to podcast number one, announcing Decoy and Detail Complete Innovation. What is Decoy? What is Detail? Simply, Decoy is decentralized customer loyalty, consumer loyalty, community loyalty, all decentralized. So everything is decentralized in customer loyalty, just like it is in DeFi. So it's Decoy. Detail is the same thing. Everything's decentralized for retail because decentralized customer loyalty has a lot to do with retail. Retail is involved big, and there's a lot of things that we're going to go over. So we founded this space, Decoy and Detail, and we're using technologies in ways that have never been used before. And then we've also created technologies ourselves. We have built custom technologies ourselves inside of the build that are obviously unique and proprietary to us since I built them. And they're open source, they're permissionless. We're going to go over that. But we constantly innovate, and that's what you have to do in an open source environment. See, we're not talking about protecting things with patents anymore. What investors are looking for, or what we should look for in companies, is do we have a CEO that knows how to innovate? Because if the CEO knows how to innovate, and he constantly is innovating, and that's what you need to do. You can never sit still. You've got to constantly be innovating, and you've got to find, like, the theoretical, the Elon Musk or the Steve Jobs or the Richard Branson or the Michael Saylor, okay, or the Ross Stevens. I mean, you got to find the right kind of guys that are going to constantly innovate, and that's what we do. That's what I do, and these are just gifts that we get, but we'll go over more than that. So these are two new spaces, Decoy and Detail. Really just Decoy. You can forget Detail. Everything is under Decoy because retail is involved. So that'll be simpler to remember. Now let's go on and see what's going on. We'll get out of here real quick. Okay, so DeFi and Decoy actually work together, which is why Decoy is bigger than DeFi, because Decoy can use all the DeFi, but DeFi can't use all of Decoy. So we actually have a specified use case that affects so many verticals, which is really all the people. We'll go over that just in a second, but the fact that we work together is just like decentralized finance. Our DeFi is going to revolutionize all the transactions. Decoy and Detail will disrupt multiple verticals while focusing on one which is wide open for complete disruption. So even though we may be talking about customer loyalty, or community loyalty, or consumer loyalty, that really affects everybody because loyalty changed, because the world changed, and more on that later. And of course, the loyalty market is huge in and of itself. It's very far-reaching, and that's wide open for complete disruption. I mean, all of advertising, all of marketing, average ticket for small business owners, frequency, donations, how people behave, why they go places, where they order, what they do, how they support their community. All of this is inside of Decoy, which of course encompasses all of DeFi. So obviously they work together. Now, in March of 2020, the definitions of the words started changing along with the technologies. And governments started changing too. I mean, we're in very unique times. I mean, just as, the flagship company that I started is Smart Community Technologies. And you would think that may mean, well, that's a good idea for communities to have technologies or whatever, but smart doesn't mean smart anymore. Smart means the technologies itself are smart. So these are smart technologies. These are technologies that are decentralized, autonomous organizations known as DAOs, which we can do with decentralization and new tech that very few people really grasp even now. But the market is huge. It's inevitable that it's changing this way. So anytime we innovate inside of the next wave of everything, I mean, Internet 2.0, it's bigger than the Internet originally was. And when we can innovate like we are doing right now, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we have to be the first inside of a space creating something that didn't exist before, which is Decoy, decentralized customer, community, and consumer loyalty, and we'll talk about that. So, and it's ripe for disruption. So, smart refers to the technologies themselves learning. Community doesn't mean necessarily where you are geographically. It means anybody of like-mindedness anywhere in the world can now connect together through these technologies that are smart enough to do that and learn as they do it. Okay, so this is really incredible, and the power of the world is in technologies now, and so we need innovation, and we need what I'm going to discuss to remain strong as a country. Because unless the United States innovates and unless we lead in digital technologies and the protection of people digitally, we're not going to exist as a country. This is the definition of the chessboard. Now, most people know that. We won't go into it. But anyway, on the smaller picture, loyalty is not just a program, it's a relationship. Businesses today, this is how silly businesses are today. They actually think they can get customer loyalty by issuing you miles, points, cashback rewards, or stars. Totally complete inept currency. I mean, can you really take Starbucks stars and go spend them at the airport, for an airplane ticket? Or can you transfer your Starbucks stars from the United States when you ordered a cup of coffee at Starbucks over to somebody who has nothing in Argentina and make a difference in their life because you drank? No, it doesn't work. If there's no Starbucks in Argentina, the Starbucks star, I don't even know if you can even transfer the things. Okay, but so forget that. That is not customer loyalty. That's goofiness, and yet that's what we're disrupting. You see how easy it is to disrupt? That's not how you create loyalty. Here's the thing: 95% of the world's population has indicated by survey they desire a relationship they can trust. But who can you trust? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Now, what do we mean by this, 95% of the world's population? Because 95% of the world's population has said they believe in some type of God. Yeah, we have to talk about the G word, God. Okay, and you're gonna see why we have to talk about that word, because look at, 95% of the world's population, and it's really 99. So we understand theology. I went to 7 different seminaries when I was younger, and so I understand all about this theology. It needs total disruption too, and we're going to decentralize all of everything. A relationship to God. You'll see this is what the whole thing is about. But anyway, 95% of the world's population has indicated they desire, but who can you trust? Well, let's find out who we can trust. Decoy uses the God protocol inside of its technology to establish relationships that you can trust. What? You gotta be God and code. Now, here's what people want in a relationship. And although this is really what's true about God, this is actually what's true about what we did in the technology. So in other words, we're putting the attributes of God inside of a technology. But it's a God that people don't necessarily know. If they may think it's a different God. They're going to go, wait a minute, I don't know about this protocol, this God protocol. And by the way, I didn't even call it the God protocol. That was called originally. It was called by a gentleman back in 2015 that did a talk, wrote a book, called The Blockchain Revolution. And he talked about the God protocol. That's what it's called because the attributes of Bitcoin at that time and the attributes of some of this technology coming out, it's got God-like characteristics that they've never seen in technology before. So what we're going to do with Decoy is we're going to put all the things that people want in a relationship inside of the technology. Nobody has ever done this before. Now, here's our presupposition, and then we're going to get out of here because we just want to do about 15 minutes, and then we're going to talk about getting down to the brass tacks later, because you won't believe what's in this thing. It's incredible. But, here's what we found out that people don't want, okay, when they have a relationship, really with a retailer or with God, with anybody, right? People don't want any strings attached to the benefits, okay, or the value that's provided by the relationship. So the relationship should be beneficial to both parties or the person. It should provide value to both parties. And then each of the parties don't want conditions or rules. Like they don't want the other party coming up and saying, wait, I'm not going to be like I'm going to be any longer until you do X, Y, and Z. So wait a minute, if I don't do X, Y, and Z, then we don't have that same kind of relationship anymore. That's not what they want. they want unconditional relationships, not conditional ones. And guess what do you think you want in a God? An unconditional God. You don't want him judging you. So same thing. It's right in the technology. Now, people don't want to ask permission to do things. Can you imagine, like, hey, is it okay if I go to the game? Is it okay if I have a Michelob Ultra? Is it okay if I see? Can I go on a date? Can I get? Forget that. Nobody wants any relationship where they're always wondering about asking permission to do certain things, along with requirements tied to it to keep it going. No, people don't want that. That's not what we do in our build either. And yet you see all of these attributes that people don't want are in current customer loyalty solutions. This is why none of them have ever worked. This is why it is so easy to disrupt this space. People also want relationships with open source without any discrimination. Really? So do you think that you should not judge people on their age, sex, gender, income, or behavior? Yeah. That's the way you should do it. Well, that's what the technology does. Okay? There is no bias, right? Code doesn't know bias. It's code. So when you put these attributes into code, you can trust it because it cannot be changed. Wait a minute. Couldn't someone change it? No. You can actually put in the code the fact that it can never change. And we're going to illustrate that just in a second. Then we're out of here. Okay? The people also need to feel a growing value from the relationship, and who doesn't want to feel protected, secure, and loved unconditionally? They need hope in the relationship. They want to have that fuel hope and give them a reason for living. They want immutability in it, so people can't take things away, or no human being can change the rules. People need a lot of freedom to make mistakes, but they want to keep learning from these mistakes due to the trust in the relationship and the nature of where that trust is placed. I mean, does this even kind of a thing even exist? I mean, you got to be kidding me, right? I don't think, first of all, I don't think God's like that. I don't think there's a protocol like that. Well, even if you don't think God is like that, we put these attributes in them. Now, what are we talking about? We put the attributes of an existing technology that's already doing what I just described. But we mix it with other technologies to even strengthen it further, but it's already there. Now, what if I told you this? First of all, where did we get this? Okay, what are these technologies that you're putting in and developing this called, blockchain technology or is this Bitcoin? Is it Ethereum? See, people have no idea what these things even are, but in reality, Bitcoin really started the whole thing in 2008. Okay, and many people don't realize this. But what if I told you that the technology of Bitcoin just fell from the sky? That we don't even know who did it. And supposedly Satoshi Nakamoto wrote a white paper. But let me tell you about Satoshi or whoever you want to call him. And you tell me that the guy doesn't exist, all right? He had no mother, no friends, no neighbors, no girlfriend, boyfriend, or gender friend of any type. He had no hobbies, no home, no family, and no coworkers. Nobody has ever seen this person. There's no headquarters. There's no employees. There's no building. There's no customer service. Okay, you've got to be kidding me, right? No, this is Bitcoin. Do you realize that? And when Bitcoin dropped out of the sky, like you see right here, okay, where nobody knows where he is, it opened up technologies now that have protocols like God was supposed to be. Could it be? Let me ask you a question. Could it possibly be that we can put the attributes of God inside of technology? What if we did? What if we were able to do that now? Would that kind of technology be irresistible? Would that type of God then be? Could we introduce God through technology? By doing what people have always want, what 95% of the world wants? Could we really do that? Yeah. Stay tuned for podcast 2.